You don't need to buy a single VST or plugin this Black Friday, but it's a fact that this is the best time of the year to make upgrades if you need them. So in this video, I'm going to reveal my guide to help you save money, avoid marketing pressure, and know with certainty which plugins are actually worth your investment. If you want free access to this guide, you can visit the link that's on screen now or hit up the link in the description. Members will also get an enhanced version of this with downloadable racks and tools, as well as over 30 Ableton project files based on songs from the Beatport Top 100 charts. Now, let's kick things off with the number one way you can save money on plugins this year. Have you ever wondered why so many people agree that music from the pre-computer age sounded better? Instead of having 1,000,001 options for plugins to add to each track, for each track they would have a single channel strip with very specific effects and features at their fingertips. In 2025 and beyond, we can actually replicate this by building our very own customized channel strips, all without spending a dime on any new plugins. Let's jump into this. All right, so something I've built for you here is like a VST guide that goes over the main VSTs that I use and recommend. And continuing on like what we were just talking about, I want to go over this channel strip here. So after recording and mixing music for about over 15 years now, I found that the fastest way to mix is to mix as you go by first focusing on the volume fader, so just getting the volume correct, and then following that up with a very minimalist channel strip like this that allows me to quickly adjust the EQ. So for the most part, we're adjusting that high pass filter, but sometimes doing the low pass filter as well, and very rarely doing like surgical cuts or anything kind of crazy like that. It's all about quick, fast movements that are going to get you the biggest results. Then following that up with a transient shaper, and this is to make sounds shorter to reduce their impact. In this instance, I've mapped the main knobs of this free transient shaper here. You can download it from here if you'd like to. It's the Kilohertz transient shaper. And this way, it's turned off automatically, but if I ever want to reduce the impact or tighten up a sound, it's right there ready to go. And then the next element is side chaining. So this is basically to make room for the kick and for that pumping dance music feeling. And what I've done a little bit different in my channel strip is I've created a one knob effect. So this is actually using the Ableton stock shaper, as you can see here. And it's just pumping to quarter notes, which is generally what the kick is hitting. This way you don't need to do any kind of routing or anything like that, which is more time consuming stuff that I don't like to do. And then also in this one, sometimes I notice that the sidechain will reduce the volume. And then is a little thing that I like to do sometimes is bring that volume back with saturation or drive. And so what I have here is this saturation, which is just the Ableton stock saturator. And particularly I use this to make sounds a bit fuller and sometimes to add some grit or character as well. You do need to make sure you volume compensate. So sometimes I'll use it as like the sidechain introduced a decrease in volume, and it also could use some grit and character and a little bit of fullness. So I'll increase the drive to bring that volume back. But if you're not doing something like that, I'm probably honestly overcomplicating things here. But you do want to make sure that you're volume compensating, because when you increase saturation, it will increase the volume or the perceived volume. Maybe a little bit too much on that topic, but it's how it is. And then lastly is width. So here I've mapped the main knobs of this free and really awesome Polyverse wider plugin. And again, on the page here, you can download it with the main core knobs mapped here. So this way, this wider thing in particular is for making sounds wider and to make room for sounds in the center. And so the idea here is I found the main things that I like to do with each and every single one of my mixes, and being able to have this automatically loaded onto every audio track and every MIDI track, I can quickly make these adjustments and make my sound polished and move on to the next track as quickly as possible. So if you wanted to grab this, if you remember, you can grab this whole thing. It's all set up for you. You need to make sure you download the Transient Shaper and the wider plugin. But I think also something I would consider is like coming up with your own channel strip or using this as a starting point, and use all the stock plugins that you already have to create something super powerful that you can really improve your workflow with like a lot of these one knob effects, just using like stock stuff and free stuff or whatever you already have instead of buying anything new. So I want to move on to the next kind of area here. So in this VST guide, which is free for anyone that is a subscriber, just some of these links will only be available for paying members. What I have here is my free and like recommended stuff that I think you should definitely have. Ableton Live 12 Suite, that transient shaper and the Polyverse. They've got the price here if there's a price, a little bit extra explanation of the purpose. And then there's a couple of other things that I want to go over here. So when it comes to mixing and mastering, so when it comes to, again, mixing, I mostly do mixing as you go, but something I will do as kind of the finalization process is some bus or group mixing. So for this is a look at my chain. It's really just 2 plugins right now, and I do a bit of compression and a little bit of clipping. And right now I'm using this AI compressor called the_compressor. Basically, because I'm not great at dialing in compression, but I still want to be able to control like the dynamic range a bit more. And then this clipper here is the K clip, and any clipper will do. And generally, what I do is aim for about a decibel of gain reduction. So for the group and bus processing, it's mostly about reducing the dynamic range so that at the end of the mastering process, the mastering chain isn't working as hard and you can get a louder master. In terms of this mastering chain, I'm mostly just trying to reduce the dynamic range fuller in stages with a bit of compression, multiple clippers, and multiple limiters so that no plugin is working too hard. And I'll look at it here. And if you are, again, on the membership, you can actually download these chains as well. And what I have here is a little chart of recommended plugins for mixing and mastering. So we have like the K clip, and then the cost of it, as well as free alternatives. So for any of these plugins that I'm using, like the professional ones that are a bit more expensive, for example, like FabFilter Pro L2 is what I really love for limiting when it comes to mastering, but it costs $170 when it's not on sale. So I've included free options, whether it's stock or something like free that you can download online. That seems to be a good alternative to that. And then lastly, what I want to go over here is this experimental section. So these are a bunch of like creative and fun effects that you probably don't need to use, but I really like to use. So there's a couple different things. This A1 trigger gate's really cool for getting that stutter house effect, and it's free. For like lo-fi effects, I'm a big fan of this crystallizer. And for each one of these, for these charts, you can find what the plugin is, what like a link to it as well, how much I recommend it, whether I like highly recommend it, medium, or like, you don't really need it, as well as the non-sale price so you have an idea of what you're getting into, free options when I can have them, which I'll add in here, and then a little explanation of the purpose. So this is a look at the VST guide. I'm going to make this free to anybody that is a subscriber. So just if you want to visit the link in the description, you can get the ultimate song finishing toolkit, which will include a bunch of other stuff, samples and some templates and some of these racks as well. And now it'll also include a link to this VST guide. And if you join the membership, you'll get access to all the project files that I'm dropping each week based on Beatport Top 100 track charts, and all these extra little tools as well. Because ultimately, we're coming into Black Friday here, and I want to try to challenge you to not spend a lot of money on plugins, especially when you can do things like create your own channel strips and your own one knob effects using the things that you already have, and just get more out of what you already have. One last parting words, as a little extra tips for when you are like purchasing plugins and how to decide if it's worth it or not. One thing I'd recommend is don't just purchase stuff because it got announced on Black Friday and like there's like that bloodlust of some new plugin and you think it's going to change everything. I'd recommend like trying to buy plugins where you've been thinking about that plugin for a couple weeks or months even, and like, you know what I mean? You've been thinking about it for a while. It's been on your wish list. You have a lot of intention of using it. So that way you're not just buying random crap and like letting marketing do its thing, and then you have this huge backlog of VSTs that you're never using or going to use. Another thing I'd recommend is using the demos, particularly like use the demos ahead of Black Friday so you can actually see what it's like to use it in your projects. For me, I know everybody's different, but I like to find stuff that I'm going to use in almost every single track. That's where I feel like that's the most important thing for me. Because I have definitely done this, and I'm sure you've done it too. For me, it was that sound ID that can change the sound of or like the sound ID reference. It can make it sound like what you're listening to is like studio speakers or different types of headphones and all this kind of stuff. And it was like $200, and I thought I was going to use it all the time because I'm traveling and like using like AirPods to mix a lot of the songs. And over time, I found it was just weighing down the CPU too much of a hassle to set up. And I just got used to using AirPods anyways and could make proper mixing decisions like that. And I ended up wasting $200. So that's ultimately what I want to kind of get to here, is kind of an anti-Black Friday capitalism fucking YouTube video here. Give you some value, some ways that you can maximize what you already have, and maybe ways you haven't heard about, like making your own channel strips and what knobs effects and that kind of thing. And some strategies you can use to make sure you're not wasting money. So those ideas of trying out the demos, seeing if it's actually something that you're genuinely going to love to use, and then also like having that premeditation, thinking of these things that you potentially want to buy weeks or months ahead of a sale so that you're not getting kind of duped by the marketing. But yeah, kind of a little rambly. Let me know your thoughts on this video. If I can make it tighter in the future, I might maybe do like a VST guide once a year or something like that. And again, if you jump into the link in the description, there's 2 links that are important there. One is you'll find the Ultimate Producers Toolkit, which is free and will give you access to this VST guide and a bunch of other cool things as well. And then you can also join the membership too if you want to be able to download some of these individual racks that I've been creating and get access to all the weekly project files that I'm adding. So now you should know how to save money, avoid marketing pressure, and know with certainty what plugins are actually worth your investment by focusing on building a custom channel strip, sitting on purchase decisions for at least a few weeks, and taking advantage of demo versions. Now, if you want to save time by downloading the template in this video, there's a link in the description and on screen now to grab not only that, but also over 30 full Ableton project files based on tracks from the Beatport Top 100 charts, with new files being added weekly. Seeing in detail how professional songs are composed, mixed, mastered, and structured is one of the best ways to fast track your productions to a quality level of the pros. If you're not quite ready for that and want to learn more right here on YouTube first, check out this completely free playlist of videos that will reveal innovative new ways to finish pro-level songs faster than any other way that you've tried before.